You all there? Hello, I'm Loz and I'm back. GRUMPA'S WORKSHOP number 101. Who'd have thunk it? I missed me 12-month anniversary to do it for reasons. We'll get into them later, but that's not the point. 101 was supposed to be, after a little hiatus, a complete finalised workshop layout to impress you all. That's not happened, as I say, because for various reasons I couldn't get in here. But I've broke the paralysis with last weekend. I have made progress on one thing, and it's a good one. Where is it? Made myself a little hardwood box. English oak carcass with walnut corners, and very nice brown oak burled inset top with, now this is new to me, a tilt back, so it's a tilting top inset. Now, I did this over the weekend using mostly planed all round. The bottom's oak veneered MDF and the top was out of a huge chunk of, as I say, burled brown oak. We'll get into how it's done, but I won't applause yet because I was led by the hand through the whole process on a residential weekend workshop. So let's get into it after this. Well then, what do you think? Now, I'm in two minds about this. I'm dead chuffed that I had the resources to go and do a 2-day residential with a good cabinet maker, and I know lots of people don't. So my pleasure's tinged with it, not a little bit of guilt. So, but it's broken this wall of procrastination I seem to have hit, coupled with the domestic situation and the lack of energy. There's more news on that as well. First of all, what do you think? The kids told me I needed to have my hair cut. It was getting a bit unkempt. I think they've gone a bit too far. I fell asleep in the chair and woke up like this. What do you think? Anyway, that's that. So, things weren't going too well since my last posting. Complete lack of energy. I hadn't got used to my new tablets yet, and my demonstrable lack of skill and the amount of work it's taken just to set up the workshop got on top of me. Now, I've been chasing courses for months. They're oversubscribed everywhere and there isn't anywhere local. So on the course, obviously for privacy for the other people partaking, and well, the course tutor as well, I couldn't film, but I have taken pictures of all the stages, both as an aid memoir and so I can show you guys. Now, I did all of it barring the initial milling down of this big piece of brown oak burl, which was about this big and close to 2 inches thick, but it was rotten in the middle and had a big dish in. So Mark, the tutor, the one piece of equipment he didn't let any of us on was his big thickness of planer. I'll show it somewhere. And it's amazing how much he ate it. If it hadn't had a bow in it, he reckoned he could have resawn it into 2 and kept a piece back, leaving me with the other half. But as it was, it just got thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner till he could joint it, and then thinner and thinner till it was the overall size. The carcass was a 4 foot length. I think it was 15mm English oak, planed all round, that we just got our dimensions off Mark and chopped into the 2 sides and the 2 lengths and the 2 sides on his miter saw. I'll show you the pictures of that. Then we chopped down the 6mm oak-faced MDF on the bandsaw, ready for that. And again, the inserts were a thin sliver of oak, which I'll show you the pictures over the stage through. We went through and chopped to the right lengths on the miter saw, and then cut the notches out of the side pieces on the bandsaw. We put the carcass sides and ends through the router table to form the groove for the bottom, and then I assembled for a dry fit. You see how everything went together, and then it was a case of using the circular clamps and gluing the walnut corners in using a rub fit to hold it in place. And I think we had started at 9 o'clock on the Saturday. The whole thing was ready and glued up, the carcass ready and glued up by 11:30, and I could concentrate in the afternoon on the insert at the top. The actual corners, it was quite interesting. We marked out along the ends for the width of the square walnut corner pieces, and then cut back on the internal angles on a miter saw again, and that allowed us to have a miter with a reinforced corner, which I think is rather swish, and the detail adds it. Then heart in mouth, I actually Mark provided in a thin plywood the shape of this outside, placed it on the top, marked it out in a pencil, and then I cut through the whole thing, the curves, on the bandsaw. And I'm really pleased I'd put in some practice before the weekend on my bandsaw so that the curves weren't completely gaff. And then once the curves were done, we sanded it down, or I sanded it down on his big Axminster bobbin sander. Job's a good one. Then I could again in the afternoon. Oh yes, what we did, I then changed the router bits on the router table, Veritas router table with a steel top, very nice, and we put roundovers on. I think it was 3/8 on the corners and an 1/8 on the top and bottom. The actual bottom we'd sanded by sanding it in a figure 8 pattern on a board. It was float glass, it was sandpaper on float glass on plywood, were wedged in the vise, and we just flattened the bottom. Then the bits that stuck up at the ends of the walnut corners, I chopped off on the bandsaw, again heart in mouth, and then again sanded it flat on the thing. So the whole thing was done. Oh, this web was great. We cut it down to a rough, well, Mark didn't let us on the joiner thickness, like I said, so that was done to a rough size, and then I cut it down to exact sizes on the bandsaw, and then in the vise with a little block plane I shaved the corners off, shaved the sides down so it fit exactly in here. You notice there was, before the support inserts were put in, there was a little plastic food container full of odds and sods that you put in the box, so I could put this on to see where it fitted, because if the if the thing had have fallen in, I'd have never got it out. So anyway, there was that. And then once this fit in, it's back to the router table, and we push the router table through with a curved bit, and that gave us the pillow rounding off. We did that in 3 stages because that's quite hard, and that was that. Then I thought I'd finished after we put the inserts in. The inserts also had a round over on the inside, so there weren't any sharp edges there, and we cut the timber edge there to a circle using an old 2p piece, I think it was, it shows in there. So that went in. Because you can't actually squeeze against that curved side with a clamp, he actually showed us the adhesive rub method, where you put the glue on one side, place it in place, and just keep moving it backwards and forwards by pressing it down until all the air's taken out between the glue and the wood, and air pressure keeps it stuck, and then we put the end piece in. What took an awful long time was, I'm going to put it in the wrong way around now, was getting the edge of the curve over level with the top. We had to use an awful lot of sanding around. Now, let me get this off again, because it goes in one way. The finish. This took us till about, so all day Saturday and 9 o'clock till about 1:30 to get the tops finished. And then it's a case of finishing, and we were expected to finish 2:30, 3 o'clock. How can you finish in an hour? Well, Mark has this proprietary brand of hard wax oil that he uses and sells. As a company developing it, it's moving on from the hard wax oil that they put on oak flooring. So it's a 1 coat, 1 application, dry in 5 minutes. It doesn't build up on the top of the wood, it just goes into the wood, so you actually scrub the hard wax oil in, wait a few minutes, and then buff it off flat. So the whole thing was done, and in fact I put too much on the lid. I got the whole box the lid done with practically the oil that was pooled in the upside down tin lid on the table, and it goes a long way. So that's a thought for the future. No more dust-free environments and 6 layers and waiting 8 hours between coats. It's all done in one, and then we just put a beeswax based polish on, and we were all done and dry. There's nothing stuck to it. It smells nice, and I'll carry on buffing it up for years to come. I'm very pleased with that. And of course now I know what to do. I can duplicate it and batch them out, buying oak strips off eBay and looking up some nicely patterned things for the top. Now, the downside to the whole course, it was a brilliant course. It was in Red Hills near Penrith, and I'll post the details of Mark and his website below. It's not an advert, he doesn't know I'm doing it, but I was very impressed. The downside of it is, of course, when we turned up on the Saturday morning, there was a choice of at least 3 different box styles. There was this shaped box with an insert lid that tilts. There was a standard piano lid box with the hinges on the back, and various methods of holding it down and wood treatments, and there was a third one with the oak carcass and then a waney edge top that's inset flush with the sides of the box, and the way the edge sticks out at the front, so the choice of having it right across the front or in the middle or to one side. And there was Mark had a huge choice of woods there. I don't know if you can see under the burl that the other two guys chose the inset one with the rainy edge front and the brass pins in the sides. So there's enough time on one weekend course to do one box and a choice of other boxes, so we were all eyeing each other's boxes up. So there may be another weekend in the going. Again, I'm still guilty. I'm spending money like you can only spend the kids' inheritance once, can't you? I'd like to do the 5-day course, but it's family and the domestic situation. So that's that. That's my haircut. And on the domestic side, I don't know if you've noticed, I've been putting on an awful lot of weight. Things got me down, so I was eating and that. Anyway, because I'm a carer, local authorities stepped in. They're giving me a 10-week exercise referral, and so I'll be talking to that guy, a dietitian, to help me lose weight, and a subsidised gym membership. So I've got an appointment this Thursday for an induction and a programme to start getting me working again, because I'm losing muscle mass and strength like nobody's business. But hopefully I'm turning the corner, and I'll keep you posted on how much I can lose and how much muscle mass I can build. Now I've broken, and I'm really chuffed. Can you tell I'm really chuffed? So that's that. I'm really happy. I'll get this together and try and do a slideshow in the corner of all the bits I've talked about. I've talked enough. I've broke my duck. I'll try and get back to a weekly basis. Now I know what I'm doing. And that's enough for now. I'll try and keep it a weekly. You take care. I'm off for my cup of tea. See you again, guys.